Welcome. We will now begin the City of Boynton Beach City Commissioners meeting today, Tuesday, July 7th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. John, would you please provide us a brief introduction?
Yes, good evening. I will be providing assistance to the
John, did your microphone go out?
Oh.
I'm assuming it did.
Do we have somebody else with the script available?
Yeah,
Alan, if Alan's listening in, I don't know if, Alan, do you have any of the controls?
Hi, this is Alan. I don't know if I have any of the controls, but I do have the same set of documents I believe that John has. And I do see that the date, at least as I'm seeing it, is incorrect regarding the commission meeting today is not Tuesday, June 16th. And I do think that John may have started the meeting already. So
we started it and it's July 7th.
okay.
So yeah, I see that his his title screen is wrong.
Right. Okay.
But we're going to move forward with the invocation, and the introduction will occur in a little bit. Reverend Jack Copus, we are now going to unmute you. You are currently self-muted. We need you to, and you're not attentive. And if you can hear us, we'll give you a few more seconds. Otherwise, I'm going to be doing the invocation. All right. Would everyone please bow their heads and take a deep breath with me? As we experience another year of this country's birth, we reflect on all that we have accomplished and all that we are to accomplish here in the city of Boynton Beach. This will be our centennial month, and I'm very excited to explore and create new memories with all of the city commission, our residents, our businesses, working together for a better Boynton Beach. Amen. Right hand over your heart for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will move on to a roll call.
Mayor Stephen B. Grant.
Present.
Vice Mayor Tyson Serga.
Here.
Commissioner Justin Cat.
Here.
Commissioner Woodrow Hay.
Here.
He is present. Yes. Commissioner Christina Romulus.
Present.
Mayor, we have a quorum, and I'm also able to read an opening statement for the public if you'd like at this time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Crystal.
You're welcome. Good evening. The city will be providing assistance to the mayor and elected officials during tonight's meeting. Before we start, I'd like to review a few housekeeping items so the public audience knows how to participate. Your microphones have been muted to reduce background noise during this public meeting. It will be specific times during the meeting when members of the public can ask questions and provide feedback. The first way is by typing your question into the question section at the bottom of the GoToWebinar interface. Those items will be read into the record by a meeting organizer at the appropriate time. Please be sure to include your name for the record. The second way is by using the GoToWebinar interface and clicking on the raise hand option. A meeting organizer will announce the speaker and unmute their audio, at which time the speaker should state their name for the record. Before speaking, please take steps to minimize any sources of background noise and speak clearly into your device during your allotted time. I will now turn over control to Mayor Stephen Grant, who will be presiding over today's meeting.
Thank you, Crystal. We are moving on to agenda approval. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? I'd like to move up item 9B and 9C of the city manager's report to after public audience, so that if anybody would like to speak on those items, the public audience would be at that time. In addition, all right, in addition, we have another announcement, 3E regarding a mobile testing site over at Ezel Hester. And Lori will give that information if no one else can. And is that it? So I'm not, Christina, I'm not the one that did the motion. So do you mind being the first to approve the amended motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the amended agenda.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion from the commission? Hearing none. All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to informational items by the City Commission. Commissioner Katz, would you like to begin?
Nothing to disclose at this time.
All right. Commissioner Hay, would you have anything to disclose?
No, nothing to disclose at this time. Just glad to be back home.
All right. Commissioner Romulus.
Thank you, Mayor. No items to disclose, just wishing everyone a belated 4th of July. And I know this year was a lot different than what we're all used to, but it was definitely still an opportunity to celebrate our nation's birth. So I hope everybody had a safe and happy 4th of July. I am excited to, do our own centennial celebrations and in whatever capacity they'll be happening later this month, and all the festivities that have already been going on. So just want to give a special shout out to Eleanor and crew for all their hard work. I know they're out there working all types of crazy hours, still trying to, put the city on the map and celebrate this centennial year. So just want to make sure she gets that recognition. And lastly, today got an opportunity to visit City Hall and see it, kind of minus all the extra construction and everything else that's going on. So it's been really nice to just really kind of get to explore the last final product of the work that's been happening for the last couple of months on that building to get it open. So also want to just give an opportunity to commend John McNally and Gail Moots for all the work that they've done to help make the transition and the move seamless for the rest of our staff. So great job to all those employees who did all that hard work. And I know it was a team effort, but those are the two names that I know are, really kind of stand out in terms of all the work and leadership that took place to make this happen. So thank you everybody for all the hard work that you've done to get us to this point, and I look forward to what continues from here on out. Thank you.
Thank you. And Vice Mayor Pinsurga.
I have nothing to disclose, Mayor.
All right. So it's been a while. So on June 18th, I attended a Transportation Planning Agency meeting and the Florida League of Cities ethics training. On June 19th, I celebrated Juneteenth with Boynton Strong and the Chevy DTV Foundation with Robinson's Barbecue in front of on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. I think it was a very well attended event. We were able to pass out hundreds of masks, and it was an example of what we need to do moving the city forward, making sure that everybody entering the building entering the line has hand sanitizer before we move forward, plus wearing a mask when you can. On the 21st, I celebrated Father's Day for the first time as a father, and I thought it was amazing to have 4 generations together. And I just want to give a shout out to all the fathers. It's not an easy job, but it's an amazing job. On the 29th, I attended our Economic Development and Strategies team's Tourism Master Plan. I'd like to thank David Scott for his efforts to help with tourism. There was a TV show outside of my dock the last month catching peacock bass, and so hopefully we can help promote the freshwater fishing that is available here in Boynton Beach. On the June 30th, I attended a roundtable with Florida Trend, and I think Boynton Beach needs to do a little bit more with our tech industry and innovative areas. On July 2nd, I attended Business Over Coffee, and I think my suggestion there is that we have a guest speaker from the city to attend that deals with the businesses. I'd like to, request Salika Brown, because I know business tax receipts are going to be due in September, and a lot of people didn't know they needed one until they wanted to get some money. So that's what I'd like to see, if we can combine our economic development strategy team with the building department, planning and zoning. I attended our new police station with Temple Cherie Shalom for Cookies with Cops, where the organization goes around the areas and to the different police departments to show them their support and that they're thinking of them. On July 3rd, I went to the links to play some golf. I think Tommy's doing a great job there, and Ron definitely left him in a good position. We're doing everything safe with making sure that there's one person per golf cart if you are taking one, and every new person gets a clean golf cart, that it's been sanitized. But I did also speak with the owner, Peter, over there, who is on the agenda tonight, so for consent, and so I'll be speaking about that. July 4th, Declaration of Independence. I'd like to thank our police department for the stellar job that they did. It wasn't easy turning down all of the complaints for fireworks, because it's a concern of our public, and I think they're doing a great job to making sure that our residents are safe, and my hat goes out to them. On July 6th, I attended Feeding South Florida's new commercial kitchen. So in partnership with the Commercial Caring Center, we have a state-of-the-art culinary training location, plus up to 10,000 hot meals to be able to be delivered out of Boynton Beach. We're fortunate that they chose us as the beta site, because speaking with Paco Velez, is that Broward and Miami-Dade are going to have to compete for what we got here in Boynton Beach. And then that leads me to today. I had a conversation with Matt Cox from Copper Point, speaking about the Brewers Guild, how the state has not allowed tap rooms to open, and our brewery industry is something that we strive for here in Boynton Beach, and if we do not assist them with their tap rooms, we may be losing them. So I'd ask with consent of the board or the commission, that we form a letter to send to the Department of Business and Professional Regulations, showing that tap rooms are similar to a restaurant and that they should be open, that it's not just a bar, it's manufacturing as well that is needed here. And I believe, the last announcement is that our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to Captain Jeff Powers and his family. On his way back from the Keys, he was hit by a semi truck, and we are wishing a speedy recovery for him and his daughter. In addition, we lost another Boynton Beach. We did lose a Boynton Beach resident, Miguel Antunes, on Boynton Beach Boulevard this past week. We forget how many people die on the roads, whether walking, biking, or driving a vehicle. And so I think, with the budget, our new complete street guidelines, our Vision Zero, we need to, as a commission, start requesting funds for our county and state roads where our residents and tourists and visitors have died. So I think that's all the information I can give you right now. Anything else from the rest of the commission? Seeing none, we will move on to announcements. Announced fiscal year 2021 budget workshops, dates and times. Due to the increase in COVID-19 cases, staff is recommending the workshops be held via GoToWebinar versus in person. They are Monday, July 13th, 2020, 5 p.m., Tuesday, July 14th, 2020 at 10 a.m., and Wednesday, July 15th, 2020 at 2 p.m. We currently have it scheduled for a, an in-person meeting. And so, Lori or Jim, do we need to do anything to make it a virtual meeting?
Yeah, we haven't advertised it yet as far as the official publication. I don't believe, Jim. I think we're okay when we do advertise it. We have to state that it's virtual.
Yes, we do. We'll make sure the notices are corrected.
Okay. And this is where I want to ask the commission is that I would like to still have a safe for me to attend at the police department. As you know, I can do a virtual meeting anywhere that there's internet, and I'd like to give our residents the ability to go there socially distanced with, requiring masks and hand sanitizer before entering the building, so that we give ourselves a sense of normalcy as we move forward, because I think it's a false belief that we're going to return to the time before COVID-19. And I think we need to start setting the example of how to have safe events. And so I'd like to be able to, have it as a virtual meeting. However, open up the police department's community room, which is, I think 6,000, 7,000 square feet of space that can host, 50 or 100 people socially distanced, just so that I will be there. Any chairs, a TV with the virtual meeting will be on there, and so public comments can also be can be made in person, not just virtually, because I know that some people still have trouble registering for these meetings, for calling in and signing up. So that's what I request for me to allow to go to the police station for a meeting. If no one else comes, it's just me there. I see one head nod.
Yes, I support it, Mayor. I think as long as they're distanced, I think that should be fine.
Yeah, and I'll ask our fire department to distribute the medical mask that we received from the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office. So anybody who doesn't have a mask can have one as they go in and out of the buildings.
I would agree with that, Mayor. And Lori, just any other measures, hand sanitizing station, any other things we can do to help make the location safe for residents that would like to attend in person, I would like to request that. Thank you, Mayor, for volunteering to be there in person.
Yes,
I believe it's a good idea, and I will be there, provided everything that's been said. I have no problem with it.
Will this require filming of that? Will it, for the records or for legal purposes, will people who go there have to be on camera or speak and be recorded, or?
Just like you, their voice will be recorded, but I don't think we'll have a camera specifically at the microphone. So we'll have, it's a simple procedure where we'll have, the laptop with the desk for me and Woodrow, and having a podium with a microphone and a TV screen connected to the virtual meeting.
And all the staff will be able to remain virtual, doing presentations and all that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, so Jim, I guess you have the updated notice of it being a virtual meeting. However, we will also be able to have a in-person meeting as well.
I'll work with the clerk and we'll get all the bases covered for that.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the proclaim the month of July 2020 as Parks and Recreation Month. Casey Young, Recreation and Parks Assistant Director, will accept the proclamation. There we go. City of Boynton Beach Proclamation. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of our communities throughout this country, including the City of Boynton Beach, and our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of the City of Boynton Beach. And whereas parks and recreation buildings build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime and reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of the city, and parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And the City of Boynton Beach recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. The U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. Now therefore, I, Stephen B. Grant, Mayor of the City of Boynton Beach, do hereby proclaim and extend greetings and best wishes to all observing July 2020 as Parks and Recreation Month. Next announcement we have, or Casey, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Casey Young, Recreation and Parks Assistant Director. Thanks for this opportunity. Due to coronavirus this year, Park and Recreation Month celebration is different from previous years. The theme this year is We Are Parks and Recreation. Our entire industry has had to reinvent itself during this pandemic. We are used to working to minimize attendance for recreation programming, and now we have to be concerned with registration restrictions and social distancing. We have discovered new ways to connect with our community through food distribution events, educating the public on CDC guidelines, and wellness checks on our senior citizens. One thing the Recreation and Parks Department has learned during this experience is the important role our parks and the services we provide are essential to our residents. The impact Harvey Orr Park boat ramp provides for our commercial fishermen, walking and bike trails provide opportunities to exercise, the Boynton Beach Tennis Center provides a place to socialize as long as it's 6 feet apart, and Oceanfront Park Beach allows the public an opportunity just to relax. I accept this proclamation in recognition of Parks and Recreation Month, and would like to thank every member of the Recreation and Parks Department, along with other city departments that have assisted in keeping our parks maintained, safe, and accessible for our residents. We accept the challenge of providing recreation services during these unprecedented times.
Thank you, Casey. Our next announcement is from Debbie Majors, our Grants and ADA Coordinator, will give a brief presentation on the city's Inclusion Works program.
Thank you, Mayor. Debbie Majors, Grants and ADA Coordinator. This is the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act being signed into law, so we have created a new way to involve and support our local businesses. Next slide. And so it is a new economic development opportunity. We will be providing education and resources, and this is created to be a very simple and flexible way for our businesses to join us in embracing a culture of inclusion and to welcome individuals with disabilities into their business. Next slide. It just really takes 3 simple steps to be a partner with us. Step 1 is to register. They simply go on the City of Boynton Beach website, which is www.boynton-beach.org. And on the business tab, they will find ADA Inclusion Works, and takes you step by step right through the registration process. Very simple. Step 2 would be to visit with city staff, and we will work with them one-on-one to review their business options. Again, it's tailored to their business. This can be done virtually or in person. And then step 3, to achieve recognition, within 6 months, they just need to complete 4 required actions. First of those actions would be to establish a policy to fully comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act, and just schedule some time with our staff to be able to provide them specific training based on their business needs. Also confirm that their employees have viewed a customer service video that we will provide them. To review service animal regulations that are provided by the Department of Justice and establish their own service animal policy. And we have sample policies to share with them as well, just to make it very simple. And then the last thing that is required is to develop multiple methods for patrons to provide feedback. And that includes a policy on how to address grievances. Next slide. In addition to the required actions, there are 4 voluntary type actions. And with this, we provide a menu of options so the business can create new ways to welcome individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing, who are blind or may have a visual impairment, who have intellectual or developmental disability, and that includes individuals on the autism spectrum. And then also just general accessibility and inclusion practices, which would include their website. It's so important these days to have an accessible website. Next slide. And then what we will do when they get to the point after 6 months, or if it's sooner, we will be recognizing them at a city commission meeting on our city website and through our social media, as well as providing them a window cling decal for the Inclusion Works program, a wall certificate, and a digital logo they can use on their website and in social media. And then to maintain this recognition, just annually, they would select other items from the voluntary menu and continue to be supportive of our community. Next slide. And just so you know who's behind this program, we have great support for our businesses. It starts with the City Manager's Office of Accessibility, which includes myself, our ADA assistant, Ted Goodenough, Beth Wagmeister, who has been contracted as our Business Outreach and Inclusion Specialist, Stephanie Soplop, our Recreation and Assessment Specialist, and we have 18 community organizations that support us on a regular basis. Just to give you an idea, some of these are Florida Atlantic University, Center for Autism and Related Disabilities, the ARC of Palm Beach County, Career Source, Lighthouse for the Blind, Down Syndrome, Gold Coast Down Syndrome Organization right here in Boynton Beach, and many others. So there's a wealth of support and knowledge and expertise out there to help our businesses. And finally, we do have the support of our Economic Development Division and our marketing staff in helping to promote this through our city website and social media. And we've also connected with the Community Redevelopment Agency and have the support with working with their staff to reach the businesses that are in the CRA district. So it's very simple. Again, just the businesses can go online on our city website, and we are happy to help them every step of the way. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, my question is that what can we do to support more of this program?
Well, we are.
Yeah.
We are. It's an odd time to be doing this with COVID. It's been, the businesses have been struggling. We are here to support them, whether it's the right time at the moment or if it's down the road for them. But with the commission, I would think right now we're in a pilot phase. We're working this from just a brand new program this year. The initial response we've received, even with the pandemic going on, has been very positive. We are in the community only 8 hours a week, basically. We have one contracted business outreach position. And we hope to grow that. But right now, I think it's just if you do know a business, you frequent a business, and you would like to refer them to this program, that's how you could support us with this. And we'll just kind of take it a day at a time, and we are here to support them to be more inclusive and welcoming to our residents and our visitors. We know, just one last thing I was going to say, we know that many of them already are. They do have things in place where they are being supported, but we want to showcase that. We do want to get the word out that there are some who really have gone above and beyond. They understand the intent of the Americans with Disabilities Act. They are hiring individuals with disabilities, and sometimes they just need a little bit more support and some resources, and that's why we're here.
Okay. Thank you, Debbie.
You're welcome.
Mayor?
Yes.
I just wanted to chime in and just say, you know, thank you to Debbie and the team, Beth, especially. I know that this is something that's important, and we have a very vocal and active community of individuals in Boynton Beach who demand and deserve to be included and to be heard. And so for us to do this and to really incorporate the businesses to participate with us in our efforts to be more inclusive in the city, this is very important. And you know, I hope that our small business owners will take advantage of this. And I think also in this time that we are in, where you know it's businesses are trying to do whatever they can to survive and get people to frequent them and use them. This is just one more way for the city to help put some of those businesses on the map and give them some exposure, so that people know that they're doing their best to serve all aspects of our community. So this should be rewarded and commended. So thank you.
Mayor, I have a question for Debbie. Debbie, first of all, thank you for doing this. Second, if I were a business, how would I first hear about this? I'm just trying to imagine where my point of participation would be. Would it be when I go get my BTRs? Is that when I would hear about this, or will I receive an email? How will that work out?
Well, currently, yes. When to participate in the program, they do need to have a BTR. We have also been participating in all of the Chamber of Commerce virtual meetings. The first Thursday, Business Over Coffee, Business Over Coffee. We have been promoting it on the city's website. There is a section of our city's website dedicated to it. And we will be doing even more promoting on our social media through the city. But if there are other ways where you feel we can further promote and advertise, we are happy to do that. We'd love to make sure that everybody is aware of it, so those that are interested and the time is right can participate.
Right. So, the reason I asked that is I want to make sure that if I were a business, some of these programs, the exposure to these programs are seamless. So every time I come into City Hall and I were to ask for a permit or whatever the situation may be, that at that point, people learn about this program, our sustainability program, right? So we're not hodgepodging how we approach our businesses, but consistently at our point of contact at the city level.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate that.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Hearing none. We're going to move on to announcement 3D of our quarterly update regarding the city's census marketing efforts by Laura Landsberg, Marketing Manager.
This is Laura Landsberg, Marketing Manager for the city. I'm here with an update on the city's census marketing efforts. As many of you know, the 2020 census is underway. Self-responses are being accepted online, via toll-free phone number, and by mail through October 31st, 2020. We have been continuing our census marketing efforts that we've been doing over the last year, and those include posters, magnets on city vehicles, inclusion in newsletter, flyers, as well as digital signage, including the marquees and billboards. In addition, when the library reopens end of July, we will have more bookmarks as well there. Next slide, please. We are continuing pushing our website, which is boynton-beach.org/census, which has a lot of information about the census, including FAQs and videos as well. And it is accessible and available in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Creole. We have a pop-up ad now on the residents page that it's encouraging the community to respond. It's not too late to respond. Next slide, please. We have city staff that has been trained on the census wearing stickers so that when they engage with customers, now that the new city hall is open, we can answer any questions, as well as we have flyers and pamphlets available upon request that we can educate the customers about the census and remind them as well. Next slide, please. We are continuing to post social media about the census. We recently did a poll on Nextdoor asking if people have responded to the census yet, and 54 people had responded and they all had said yes. We know we still have work to do, but we hope that just with more engagement online on social media outlets, we are going to continue making sure that the message is being heard. Next slide, please. At our last food distribution event, we distributed 1,000 of these custom postcards that has information about the census in 3 languages. One side focuses on reminding families to count their children. The other side explains information about the census as well as directing people to our website. We are also participating in a municipality census competition amongst neighboring municipalities with populations over 30,000. Commissioner Pensurga helped launch the contest about a couple weeks ago, and we are hoping to increase our percentage response rate above the other competing municipalities. Time will tell. So we really do need everybody's help to make sure that they're responding. Next slide, please. Currently, as of yesterday, you will see on the slide the census response rates for Boynton Beach as well as neighboring cities. We are at 56.8%, just under Boca and above Delray, Lake Worth, and West Palm, just a little bit behind Palm Beach County as a whole. I just want to make sure that everyone is aware that the U.S. Census Bureau has a website that you can look up census response rates by city, by county, by state, and you can also look at the data as in terms of the total response rate as well as internet response rate to see how are people responding to the census. Are they mailing in the response? Are they calling it in or online? Next slide, please. I'm going to talk about the census in a minute, but I also just want to review a few other things about the census. Census training is going to begin in the end of July through August. The census is still hiring census takers. So it's important if anybody's looking for a job, they go to the census website, which is 2020census.gov/jobs. They can apply there. They did have people who they had extended jobs to, but some people have dropped out due to the pandemic. So definitely if somebody's interested in obtaining a job, they can get more information online. The census has told me as of today that in the past, there were census takers that knocked on doors to try to help with get the responses, but due to the pandemic, they likely are going to just be still visiting homes, but leaving census forms on doorstops as opposed to ringing doorbells and having any contact with homeowners or residents. So again, if we still encourage self-responses, but the census takers will be out and about, probably beginning at the end of August through the end of this response period, which is again, October 31st. Our outreach efforts also include faith-based organizations. We have just this past week, we've contacted our list of faith-based organizations, encouraging them to continue helping us get the word out about the census. We also are participating or helping the Census Bureau with a faith-based event, which is July 20 4th to the 26th, where they're asking faith-based organizations to please get the message out, whether it's including the census link on their newsletters, their websites, including information in their services, virtual or newsletters as well. So we are relying heavily on the faith-based organizations to help us as well. Now for our next census promotion, we're excited to launch the Guess the Census promotion. We purchased the URL guessthecensus.com, and we're inviting not just our community members, but everyone, visitors, anyone around the world to give us a guess as to what they think the Boynton Beach population will be once the 2020 census numbers have been finalized. That should be about April 2021. Anyone is welcome to come to our website, guessthecensus.com, and give a guess. We put together a Best of Boynton prize package, which includes some great prizes from our amenities, such as parasailing for 2. We're also doing beach parking for a year, golf at our Links golf course, tennis lesson, and more. We think this promotion is a great way not only to remind people about the census, as well as give them an opportunity to have a fun little guess to see what the population will be, and also highlight the city's amenities. Also included is a family membership to the Schoolhouse Children's Museum. So we encourage everyone to visit guessthecensus.com and submit their guess, and the winner will be announced probably in April, unless the census changes their numbers of when they release the data. It's ever changing with COVID, but as of today, that information is accurate. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. Laura, you said we were like 56.8%. Is
That's correct.
Is that because of the number of workers we have, or is there a limit on the number of workers we can have?
Well, that 56.8% is the current Boynton Beach response rate for the census.
Right,
so,
right.
When I talked to the census rep, he said, as a whole, census is happy about where everyone is right now, but obviously the goal is to get everyone to participate. So we're all still working together. We're definitely above most of our neighbors, and we're still working on that. But that is a kind of separate thing than the jobs that they're hiring for in order to help assist with the response effort.
Okay, thank you.
Laura?
Yes.
So the county average was approaching 60%.
That's correct. It was 59.8.
What cities are currently leading the way that's dragging that percent higher to 60? I'm just curious, A, who's leading, and B, what are they doing to lead? Because we need to get on that.
Yes, and I know that Wellington is one of the leaders. The village, I believe it was the village of Gulf, has a high rate. They have about 200 residents, as far as what the census rep told me. So it's a good question. I think we're all trying to do our best. We have identified some areas within our city that could have higher numbers. Some of the barriers could be different languages. So once we determined that that could have been a possibility, then we created that new postcard that you saw in the 3 languages, trying to ensure that everyone is receiving the message and getting the information in the language that is most comfortable to them. So we all have the same information. So it's a good question, and we're just trying to also learn from other cities and municipalities and see what they're doing, and trying to utilize best practices for Boynton Beach. We're all in this together. We're all as a team, Palm Beach County. Just the census competition is a friendly competition that we're involved with. So we're all kind of trying to all get to the same goal and utilizing their best practices along the way.
Fantastic. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Yes, Commissioner
Laura,
Ramos.
I'd like to just have a meeting with you offline so that we could talk about some of those pockets that you're saying that are under reporting, so we can figure out what are some other things that maybe we can do and how to kind of do some more outreach. So I'd like to have you reach out to me offline to talk about that a little bit more. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure.
Laura,
Yes.
I really would like to follow up on Commissioner Romula's question. What would you say is the biggest challenge that we're having in the city? Would it be the language situation or the pockets that are difficult to get to? Or what would you say that we could do as a city to help you or improve with this process?
Thank you for that question. I think we need to continue with our faith-based organizations and encouraging them to assist our efforts. I think we've done a lot as a city, but I think that the community leaders and the trusted, respected leaders within the organizations within the city can help us more. I also think that we might want to consider another, perhaps another direct mail. That we did include a brochure in one of our inserts in March, but perhaps we can do another one. We had some events planned in March, which we were unable to do based on because of COVID, and that included hiring a bus that had computers in it that we had targeted into different areas that we were bringing the census information to different areas within the city. So that was one effort that would have been great if we could have done that. But I think we might also want to consider additional signage in the pockets that the Census Bureau has identified that need a little extra push. So maybe we can talk more about that, where we might put up additional signage. And again, just when with the trusted community leaders, I think they could help us as well.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And Laura, have you reached out to the different apartment complex communities that we have? And
we actually have we started today calling our HOA list to talk to them as well, asking them to include the information. And we did do some door hangers at one point, but we definitely have included our HOAs on our email list. We've done a lot of emails with census information, but we definitely, it's another area where we can drill down and contact them again.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking of the different apartment complexes along Congress Avenue, you know, One Boynton, the new places on, the District, Neighborhood Renaissance. And so making sure that the mid-rises that we have, they're being accounted for as well, because we want to make sure we got all the new places as well.
Yes, yes, thank you. We will definitely follow up with them.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything left from the commission? Yes.
Thank you. Laura, have we been able to access information that maybe tells us this time 10 years ago where we are and where we were? Are we doing better? Are we doing worse? How is that comparison?
I don't have that information. I could definitely try to find it. This is just a very unique situation, not only because of the pandemic, but also because this is the first time ever that the census accepted responses online. So I'm definitely can find out the information to compare from the 10 years ago, just to see, because that would be good information to have. And just knowing that there are just additional factors that would be harder to compare, but I'm going to find that information and I will get that to you.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, Laura. Our next announcement is regarding the mobile testing site. Laura, do you have that information?
Yeah, John's pulling that up. We have been able to partner and work with Palm Beach County to bring a mobile testing unit to Boynton Beach. As you know, St. John's and Genesis Health probably about a month ago ran a testing site for about 6 weeks, but that has ended. And outside of, I think, more commercial or private medical clinics, really, we haven't had other testing opportunities. So this unit does travel around the county. It goes to different cities every day. As you can see there's no appointment necessary. It will be here July 15. We're going to have it at the Ezel Hester Center on Seacrest. Folks can walk, it's from 9 to 4. You can walk up. Again, no appointment needed. You need some ID. They do say you need a driver's license or a photo ID. To bring a mask, wear a mask, and they'll be doing the swabbing. So hopefully, we're going to do what we can to get the word out and get some folks the opportunity to get tested. And then if we have a good turnout and we see the need is there, we will continue to work with the county to come back again, perhaps at a different location, and kind of move around. It's a hot item. There, a lot of cities are asking for them. So the soonest we could get them is the 15th. But so anything you can do to help us get the word out, please share this flyer. I'll get it emailed to you tomorrow and try to get people to come on out.
Excellent. Thank you.
Lori,
Yes, sir.
they're coming on board on July 16th, you said?
15, July 15.
15.
Yes.
For how long? For how long?
Just for the one day from 9 to 4.
Okay.
Can I just make a comment? Because they're only there for that day, it's really important that we try to get the word out as much as possible. We do want them to come back and service as many part of our communities as much as possible. So if we could all take part in getting the message out, that would be wonderful.
And let me mention this phone number too. If there's any people have any questions, there is a county testing hotline, which is 561 area code 642-1000. We'll post this information on the website if it isn't already, and then again, put it on our marquees and what have you, and cross-market it as best we can.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to public audience. John?
I'm back.
All right, good. We missed you. So individual speakers will be limited to 3-minute presentations. And this is also for anyone that would like to speak on items 9, B, and C, which is a presentation of our fiscal year 2021 strategic plan initiatives by Trina Pulliam, or a presentation of racial and social equity framework by David Scott, so that you're giving us your insight. As their city managers report, items are not necessarily open for public comment.
Mayor Grant, I have enabled the 2 options. And again, the options were for any of the audience that would like to participate, providing public comment, they can either click on the icon to raise their hand, at which time I will unmute their audio and they will be able to speak during the proceedings, or they can send a message into the question section of the GoToWebinar interface. Right now, I have Miss Susan Oyer, and Susan, you are self-muted. Okay. Oh, now she's available. Yes.
Okay, Susan Oyer, 140 Southeast 27th Way. As to the best of my knowledge, none of you are actually from Boynton Beach. I thought I should share this information with you. On June 25th, Alice Naney Weems Weaver passed. She was born and raised in Boynton Beach. Naney Weems, the Boynton High School class of 1949, married Curtis Weaver in 1956 and raised her family here. An invaluable, generous, stalwart community supporter, Naney gave so much in time and energy to Boynton Beach and to the Schoolhouse Children's Museum. The Boynton Beach Historical Society awarded her the 2018 Award of Excellence. 5 days later, on June 30th, which was her anniversary with her husband, it would have been their 64th anniversary, her husband Curtis passed away. Curtis A. Weaver was the 3rd son of Boynton pioneers M.A. Weaver and Mary Ann Grace Knuth. And he left this earth to spend his 64th wedding anniversary with his beloved wife, Alice Naney Weems Weaver, who predeceased him in death by 5 days. Together forever is how we remember this caring, dynamic duo who grew up together in the little farming and fishing community known as Boynton. Town's population in 1930 was just over 1,000 people. Words can't describe the loss of Curtis and Naney and their impact upon Boynton Beach. They embodied nearly every aspect of our community, including culture, education, recreation, religion, civics, history, preservation, and most of all, bettering the community through selfless action. Those wishing to honor Curtis and Naney may make a donation in their name to the Schoolhouse Children's Museum or the Methodist Children's Home. Visitation will be on July 10th from 5 to 7 p.m. at Scobie Combs. Masks and social distancing required. This was written by Janet Knott, and I just wanted to make sure I share, because I know the Weaver family is one of the absolute most important families in our city's history, and I wanted to make sure it was read into the public audience. Thank you, Janet, for writing this information. And if you all, because I know you're actually from Boynton, if you make the effort to learn more about the Weavers, you'll be surprised at exactly how much of Boynton Beach they owned prior to selling it off to become a variety of different housing developments. So I just wanted to share. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Our next speaker is Carline Paul. You are unmuted.
Am I unmuted?
We hear you perfectly. Please state your name and address for the record.
Colleen Paul, 601 South Seacrest Boulevard in Boynton Beach, 33435. I would like to make a comment about the census. As a Haitian American that is now hosting a radio show on Saturdays in Boynton Beach, I would like to help Laura with the promotion of the census and letting the Haitian American community know that it is still very important to fill out the census, and the extension that we have gotten till October to complete the census, and they still can do it.
All right, thank you.
So I have a phone number that she gave about the county commission meeting. I want to know if have any question regarding getting help to the city of Boynton Beach. Is there a number that I can give them to call and try to get help? Because some of them get the paperwork and they throw it away.
Does the staff have an answer?
Is this for the census, Ms. Paul, specifically?
Yes.
Laura, are we having them just dial the main number, or do you guys have a dedicated line?
That's what I want to know, because I host an educational segment on Haitian radio, and I can reach out to the Haitian American community to assure that they are being counted in the 2020 census.
Carly, can you give me your number, and I'm going to have Laura call you tomorrow, and I'll get you all that information. We'd love to have you be able to help promote that. That'd be outstanding.
Thank you. And the number is 305 744 4856.
4856.
Yes.
She'll call you tomorrow, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ramona Young. And we will.
Unmuted.
We can hear you now.
Thank you. I just wanted to kind of piggyback on the census because no one brought up any statement about allaying the fears of people that ICE might try to check them for a reason for them not to complete the census, and that perhaps during that radio show they can be told that they don't have to worry about that. There's nothing on the document that would trace them or come and get them to send them back wherever they come from. That's it. You want my address? I didn't give you that.
Yes,
101 South Federal Highway, Boynton, 33435.
All right, thank you. I believe we did have some questions from Goling Gordon and Sheila Ross. And Sheila Ross says, I'm posting at my East Coast Flames business location and sharing with parents now. Thanks. All right. I did receive a text message from Tori Orr at Boynton Strong that he was having difficulty showing up as an attendee. So, but I don't believe there's anyone else that is wanting to speak right now. The question is, John, is there a number that someone can call to attend the meeting?
Mayor Grant, if somebody just dials in without registering for it, there is no way for me to unmute them because it does not identify. They would just be in a passive mode as an observer and not as a participant without actually registering.
So in order to speak, you have to register.
Correct.
And so that number, the 5617426006, is what you need to call beforehand, correct?
I believe that is, if I'm not mistaken, that's the option for leaving a voice message for comments. That is, I believe that is the correct number.
All right. Okay, thank you. All right, I guess that is it right now.
Mayor Grant, there were a few questions. Another question that came in from Mr. Ace Tilton Ratcliffe. I'm curious about the number of disabled people who are involved in the accessible business movement mentioned earlier in the meeting. Is that something that's being insured?
Yeah, I mean, that's a question for Debbie Majors, and I believe the answer is yes. I don't have the number off the top of my head. But I do know our assistant ADA coordinator, Ted Goodenough, is disabled, and he is something in work in the city is working. So the city is practicing what they're preaching and moving forward with making sure that we are ADA accessible. I still believe that we're the only municipality that is autism friendly according to the FAU School of Autism and Special Needs. If that answers your question, Ace.
Okay, Mayor Grant, I do not see any more new questions or any other hands raised.
Yeah, I do not either. Okay.
All right, I will disable the.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we are going to skip ahead to item 9B, which is a presentation of fiscal year 2021 strategic plan initiatives by Trina Pulliam of Trainovations.
David's going to introduce Trina. If he's, I don't know if he's muted.
Yeah, just a second. Have the presentation up, and Trina, you should be unmuted at this point. Trina
looks like she self-muted.
Is self-muted, yes.
Oh. Unmuted. Now I'm unmuted. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. I do not see the presentation. How would I see that? Don?
Is it not being shared right now?
And how would I see it?
Are you calling in?
Nope. I had everything on my screen.
Do you see us?
I do. Hello.
And so
Is the display,
Okay.
is the
I got
plan
it.
not on the screen? Okay.
I got it. I just switched to a different view.
Okay.
Fantastic. So, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, staff, and guests, thank you. I am pleased to present this year's 2021 strategic planning efforts. Next slide, please. So the purpose of the strategic plan is to address current and future challenges. It leverages strategic advantages and core competencies, and it considers any strategic disadvantages for the upcoming year and the upcoming future years. The strategy also sets direction. It communicates and demonstrates commitment to the vision and values, of which this year I can tell you there are no changes. It sets the focus for customer and workforce engagement and creates an emphasis on action so that the city staff can achieve the mission as set forth by the commission. The third reason is that it provides emphasis on tracking the initiatives and projects to ensure that funding exists and appropriate measures are in place to ensure that the things that you fund are successful to the point that you want them to be successful. So very quickly, we've been doing the first bullet for a couple of years now. I'm very pleased to say that this year we will have a much more robust document to be posted and published for your strategic plan. Staff did a tremendous job this year of meeting and really hashing out some important items. So the next thing that we will be working on this year are tracking those initiatives and ensuring that measures are in place that we can present next year to show the success of each thing. And that's something that the mayor and I have talked about when we talked in our interview. So thank you for that. Next slide, please. So the process itself engages the community leaders through interviews and obtaining input from you all, the elected officials. It leverages the involvement of the private sector through surveys. So last year, Boynton Beach did its first survey. Last year, meaning the last fiscal year, they did community surveys for both the business and the resident community. This year that we are still in, I believe focus groups were supposed to have been done, but may have been postponed due to COVID-19. And then this next year, you'll go through another round of surveys. This is a common process. Most of the cities that we work with, this process. And then it leverages involvement of the private sector so that they have a say in whether they believe that the city's doing a good job or a bad job and what they would like to see done differently. And that helps us set new direction for the following years. And finally, it establishes a strategic blueprint for setting direction and creating an environment for local prosperity through the deployment and direction set in the plan. Next slide, please. This is the process we've been using. It's no different this year. The process is the same. We report to you in March. And this year, because of COVID-19, we didn't get to you until April, but we report to the commission the current state of the city. And that includes all the strategic initiatives and projects that have accumulated through the years. And as they're completed, we report them to you. As they're in process, we report them to you. And then, as you'll see this year, we are reporting new ones to go on next year's strategic plan. We interview each of you as elected officials for the city of Boynton Beach. We interview you individually. We get input from you. We ask you to then designate the urgency and importance for each of the projects that are on the strategic plan. And then we take that back to staff. We get initiatives and input from staff. We have done quite a bit of work with staff this year. They've been tremendous about doing their meetings with us on Zoom. And they've been just incredibly engaged in this year's process. So kudos to them. And then finally, we prioritize and adopt through a commission workshop. That has not been needed in recent years because the number of initiatives has been relatively low, which is recommended by your consulting team. If everything's important, then nothing's important. And so kudos to you all for picking those things that are just hugely important for the city of Boynton Beach. And then as you run parallel right now, June, July, and August, you run parallel with your budget planning. Your strategic planning will help you determine those items that are super important to both the community, the business community, the visitors and residents, and you as elected officials, so that you are able to fund those things that are important. Next slide, please. So here are some improvements that we've made every year. We have honed the process. We've made some improvements to make it easier for the community, easier for the staff, and easier for you as elected officials. We switched our prioritization. Last year, we did a little bit differently. This year, we implemented what's called an IU designation to identify the combination of urgency and importance. For those of you that turned input in, we greatly appreciate that. We deployed Invisio software for tracking. So each project that goes into the strategic plan is tracked through this software. We went from 8 pillars to 3 pillars, and we have 6 strategic initiatives. So these are changes that have been made over time. It has allowed the city of Boynton Beach to become less project oriented and tactical to this year. You will see it's the most strategic of the strategic plans that we've done. So kudos to you on that. Next slide, please. So the visual pictorial of how your strategic plan works has not changed, but the content has changed. So again, you'll see those pillars that are holding up the roof of the house, which are your vision and your mission. Those pillars have changed. Those are the 3 most critical things. Those will not change probably for another few years, but your 6 city priorities help drive the decision-making for those strategic projects that get done. Next slide, please. So there's only one vision and mission for the organization. No changes were suggested, as last year, no changes were suggested.
Trina, I did see it, and I don't like it how it's not even. So our vision statement states our vision is to be, and our mission statement doesn't say our mission is. So I want to know if the commission can agree that we start with our vision statement is a welcoming and progressive coastal community that celebrates culture, innovation, and business development. And we take out that our vision is to be, because there's vision statements right above it. And so that's the only change that I'd like to make, is that we start with the capital A, welcoming and progressive coastal community that celebrates culture, innovation. And so, is that okay of a change?
I would agree with that.
Thank you. So I think that's the it's not a major change, but I think it would flow a lot better.
Cleaning up.
Duly noted. We'll make that change.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. So there are three strategic pillars. The first one is vibrant and resilient living, and what that means is to provide, sustain, and enhance a smart and resourceful high quality of life while keeping citizens safe and intelligently responding to adverse conditions. Again, we've had no changes to this. This was done in a workshop setting. Next slide, please. The second strategic pillar is connected and engaged community, which means encourage and share thriving community relationships among and between residents, businesses, and visitors to thrive. And finally, the third strategic pillar is a robust local economy, which means to attract and retain a mix of new and existing businesses and jobs while fostering economic growth and development. Those three strategic pillars drive the 6 strategic goals that you have. Next slide, please. So those priorities for the city help the commission and the staff create both funding and operational decisions for the upcoming fiscal year. Everything that is currently in your strategic plan, plus the suggested 4 new initiatives, every single one of those is linked to either 1 or 2. They could be all of them, but we try to get a linkage that is the best fit for one of these 6 priorities. If the commission or the staff cannot find a fit to one of these priorities, I typically will ask them, why are we doing it? We need not fund something that doesn't align and link to one of these 6 priorities. So those 6 priorities are culturally distinct downtown, building wealth in the community, transportation and mobility, high-performing organization, public health and safety, and environmental sustainability. Next slide, please. So the 4 new initiatives for FY21 that are currently proposed. The first one is cultivate consciousness and develop a framework to address racial and social equity in the delivery of city services for the benefit of all communities within the city. I will pause. And hearing no comment or question, the second one for your consideration is strengthen resource access to the city's underserved populations by maintaining a database of links that connect residents with resources, supporting relationships and partnerships. The third proposed initiative is to build an equitable economy that will grow family wage jobs, advance opportunities for prosperity, collaborate with partners for an equitable city, and create vibrant neighborhoods and communities. And finally,
I have a question regarding what is family wage jobs for the item 3.
I will toss that back to staff.
Yeah, I'm here. David Scott, Director of Economic Development and Strategy. Mayor, that's looking at living wage, I guess you could use the words living wage jobs to make sure that the wages that we support can support a family or support living wages.
So yeah, so instead of jobs, can we do careers?
Sure.
Because we want to create industries, not just temporary positions.
Certainly.
Other comments, questions? Okay, made a note on that. And finally, create responsive, accountable, and cost-effective government programs and services that lead to performance excellence. So very quickly, I'll make a few comments. These 4 initiatives came out of a variety of conversations with staff, who I understand had a variety of conversations with each of you. So these should align with the direction that the city is going. I also want to make a quick note that because these 4 initiatives are on the plate and are being considered starting in October, it doesn't mean that the city has never considered these, hasn't done these, hasn't been in the consciousness of either the elected officials or the staff. What it means is that now we have direction, or if this is adopted, it means that the city has direction to specifically put resources towards these things. A conscious framework for racial and social equity, it's not that the city has not considered this in the past. It means that now it is a priority. It is linked with something that's critically important for the city, and the staff, if this is adopted, the staff will then have your direction to put resources towards that. The same is true with the 4th, with all the items, but I'll address the 1st and the 4th as examples. It's not that the city has not been conscious of running a cost-effective city. It means that now more than ever, because of the financial, and I know you'll have a report on this later, but because of the financial condition that all cities, counties, states, and the federal government, because of what we're going through, it is critical that we find the most amount of efficiencies that we can, so that the resources that you have can be put towards the things that are super important. And so that's what internally what will be done. So you have 4 very strategic, kudos to you all. I mean, this is getting away from, you know, this project or that project and tactical moves to really creating a strategy for the city that is important. And I am, for one, super excited for the city of Boynton Beach. I'll pause again for comment.
Yeah, the comment that I want to make for not just for our residents is that we still have plenty of projects that are still in the works. Not that we have stopped having projects in the city of Boynton Beach. We're just focused on not a project base where it is as strategic as Trina is explaining, that instead of just going from project to project, where after we finish one project, it becomes kind of outdated. We are doing this in a strategic manner so that we can build upon the past activities of the city.
Thank you, Mayor. That's a fantastic comment. I will also, for the benefit of the guests that are in the meeting, I will also let you know that the strategic plan does not consider the regular operations of the city. The strategic plan is outside the regular operations of the city. So the city will continue to operate all of the services, programs that it operates on a regular basis. It will continue those in the most effective and efficient manner. The strategic plan helps you get from here to the vision, looking at potentially a 5-year or a 10-year plan. And so these 4 particular initiatives are not things that will be one and done. These are things that will help the city continue with those, under those strategies for quite a few years to come. And again, super excited for you for moving into this. Finally, my last comment for the guests and the residents and visitors who are online, when the strategic plan document is published, you will see every item cumulative, that it still exists. So you'll see those things that have been completed this past year, and all the things that have been put on the strategic plan in past years that are not yet complete, that they still have to work on, in addition to the operations that the city is doing. So there's a lot of work happening in the city. Next slide, please. So with that, I will again open it up to discussion and allow the commissioners to talk and determine among each other if this is are these the right initiatives for the upcoming year.
I'd like to have comments from each of the commission. And so, Vice Mayor, would you like to begin?
Yes, I fully support these initiatives, but could I ask Trina if you could go back one slide? I've been thinking about this and I just want to make sure I understand it. When you say cultivate consciousness, is that the same thing as awareness, or is there a meaning or goal behind that that's different from what I'm thinking of?
Again, I'll turn that back over to staff.
Yes, David Scott, Director of Economic Development and Strategy for the City of Boynton Beach. Vice Mayor, that is intended to create awareness, as you mentioned, and also make sure that we cultivate that culture within our organization. So it's more than, to me, it's more than just awareness. It's actually changing culture so that in everything we do, we approach it with that racial and social equity framework to bring that into our thinking, our strategies, and our approach as we provide services to the residents of Boynton Beach.
Fantastic. Thank you, David. Yes, I fully support these 4 initiatives, and I think it'll be a very exciting year coming up.
Commissioner Romulus, do you have any comments?
Yes, I think for me, I would like to hear from David, or perhaps this is something that's still being developed. I definitely support the initiatives. What I'm looking for is just more tangible, or more tangible goals in terms of how are we planning to implement these initiatives and these ideas. So it's amazing that we have put this on paper and this is where we want to go and this is the direction that we're trying to implement, but has that translate into the physical? That's what I'm asking.
So this is Trina. I'll answer that, and then David, I'll turn it back over to you. So the purpose of these initiatives is to help set the direction. Once these initiatives are adopted by the commission, then it is the ball will go back to staff to determine the action plan. So that's the next step for staff. They will develop an action plan for how this is going to be accomplished, and they will then have a set of measures, because that's our next step. That's our next improvement step, is they'll have a set of measures to present that say, here's what we believe makes this successful. So here's how we'll do it. Here's how we'll measure it. And if it is successful, this is what it will look like. David?
Yes, Commissioner, to Trina's point, these are the high-level initiatives, but to provide a little more specific, our next presentation is about developing that racial and social equity framework that would fit into that, and the outcomes of that process are what would provide the detail to that first initiative. There are some thoughts around what that second initiative could look like. We recognize there's a population of our community that that needs help and services. We as the city may not provide those services, so it's important for us to develop those strategies that connect our community with those services, whether they're county services, private services, or for-profit services. The third one is really looking at how do we strengthen our economic development strategies to ensure that all of our communities prosper from the economic activities within the city. And the last one, as Trina explained, is really setting the framework for how we become more efficient and effective at providing services to our community and removing any redundancies that may exist. So to your specific question, it is continuing to build the activities under each one of these strategies as we go forward, should the commission approve them.
I appreciate the response from both you, Trina, and from David. I'm in full support of these initiatives, and I look forward to seeing the action plan that we develop to go forward with these initiatives.
Commissioner Hay.
Well, as I look it over, I do support what you put together, Trina and David. I just want to make sure that we stay on top of this, because I want to see the details when you talk about you know, equitable economy. You talk about growing family wage jobs, and you know, when we have new developers that come into our city, we need to be prepared and ready for our people to take advantage of whatever they need to do in order to get their slice of the pie. Obviously, what we've been doing in the past has not been working to our expectation, because we got too many complaints from the dais and our community people that it's just not working for them. So I'm hoping to see, I think Commissioner Romulus said it, more detail as to how we're going to accomplish this, because so far it has not worked to my expectation. So I guess I'm looking forward to the next level, David.
Yes, sir.
And Commissioner Katz.
I think it's a clean document and a testament to the hard work put in by staff and Trina, and I appreciate it and support it.
Thank you. And yeah, I'd like to specifically thank, you know, my fellow commissioners, Katz and Romulus. I know that we started this, you know, think about 4 years ago, where the city was then to where the city is now, with the new city hall being developed, the high school. And I think that's because of the strategic plan that we put in place so many years ago, and went from a project-oriented initiative to the strategic plan. I understand that this goes to more of our vision and mission statement, and that's why we have those statements, is that it's not to try to you know, address the current issues, it's trying to address the future issues. And I feel that we are moving in the right direction, and that we are in a very good position moving forward, especially with the hardships now of this virus that is affecting the world. And we, as the leadership for the city, you know, have to set the example and provide the insight to the city staff so that we can still be a great place to live, play, and work. So I'm in favor for this, and I'll call for a motion to approve the strategic plan.
So moved.
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Mayor,
Yes.
I would just like to make a follow-up comment based on what you said. You called for the motion, so I didn't get a chance to chime in, but I wholeheartedly agree with you, and do as well. Thank you
and Commissioner Katz for the hard work that we've done together. But I would be remiss if we didn't mention, of course, former Commissioner McCray, who was part of the four of us who really kind of helped kind of take this city to the next level and put us in the position where we are now. So just, thank you for the collaboration that we've all had and the vision that we had, and along with our city manager and everybody else who, did their part, who wore several hats, Andrew Mack, Colin Groff, who really just did and stepped up everywhere and anytime they needed to really get us to the point where we are now. So to know that we've moved in this direction over such a short period of time with just a small group of people who said, let's put this into action, it's commendable. So I thank you for taking the initiative and being the mayor and during this time, and you've done a great work yourself. So thank you.
My pleasure. And yes, let's not forget Commissioner Jess Casello, Vice Mayor Typen Serga, and Commissioner Woodrow Hay, and all the other administrations before us. We are celebrating our 100 years, and it's not that anything is, the city's just been built in the past 4 years. It's been actually more than 100 years. And so we want to recognize and honor the people that were here before the city of Boynton Beach, the people that built the city of Boynton Beach, and the people that are rebuilding the city. So, all right, thank you. And we'll move on to our next item, which is now 9C, presentation of a racial and social equity framework by David Scott, Director of Economic Development and Strategy.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. First, let me thank you for allowing me to present this item. I'm very humbled.
David, before I hear some feedback, and I don't know where that's coming from.
It's not, I don't think that's me.
Okay. Did it end? All right, why don't you begin again?
All right. Thank you. David Scott, Director of Economic Development Strategy for the City of Boynton Beach. I just wanted to just say how humbled I am to be able to discuss this issue. It's a very sensitive issue, and depending on who you talk to, everyone has a different opinion or perspective on where the city should go or where we should go as a society. So I'm able to thank you again for allowing me to walk you through some of those findings that we have done and discovered during our research going forward. Next slide, please, John. This is the initiative that you just approved. So very timely that the strategic plan presentation preceded this conversation. This ties to the initiative that we seek to cultivate that consciousness and develop a framework to address the racial and social equity in delivery of our services to our community. We really focused on broadening that conversation, not just not just talk about racial, but also to talk about all the other subgroups that we have living and thriving within the city of Boynton Beach. So it could be our Latin American community, it could be our deaf community. It also really could address our LGBT community. So it really focuses on all of our communities and equity for all of our residents. Next slide, please, John. So we reached out to a lot of different municipalities, organizations, to talk about, find out what the best practices are. And one of the ones that we kept landing on was Portland. Portland, Oregon has been doing a lot of this racial.
Grant?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Pinserga?
Yes.
So it is 5-0.
Proposed ordinance number 20-019. May I have a motion to approve?
No move.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hay?
Aye.
Commissioner Romulus?
Aye.
Mayor Grant?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Pinserga?
Yes.
Commissioner Katz,
Yes.
vote is 5-0.
May I have a motion for proposed ordinance number 20-20?
So move.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no more further discussion, may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Romulus,
Aye.
Mayor Grant,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Conserga,
Yes.
Commissioner Katz,
Yes.
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
vote is 5-0.
Proposed ordinance number 20-021. May I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Seeing no more further discussion, may I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Grant,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Conserga,
Yes.
Commissioner Katz,
Yes.
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
Commissioner Romulus, vote is 5-0.
I have a motion for proposed ordinance number 20-022.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, may I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Conserga,
Yes.
Commissioner Katz,
Yes.
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
Commissioner Romulus,
Aye.
Mayor Grant,
Yes.
vote is 5-0.
All right. May I have a motion for proposed ordinance number 20-023?
So move.
I think Christina or Justin, you're going to have to second it this time.
Second.
Somebody else has to.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Katz,
Yes.
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
Commissioner Romulus,
Aye.
Mayor Grant,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Conserga,
Yes.
vote is 5-0.
Ordinance
Thank you.
20-024, an ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Part 2 Code of Ordinances, Chapter 16, City Parks and Recreation, Article 2, City Parks and Beaches, Section 1660, establishing hours of use at Harvey E. Oyer Jr. Park to eliminate confusion and ensure clarity, providing for conflict, severability, codification, and an effective date.
May I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Thank you. Give it a few seconds for anybody who wants to raise their hands or ask questions. Have a conversation with city staff on this, and it's so that people who thought that they could park their trailers at Harvey Oyer Park overnight, now they cannot.
Except for a permit, right?
Except for permit or calling in. So that way, if you are lost at sea, and
Right.
it's kind of that sense where if you don't come in, we might go looking for you. All right, seeing no questions or raised hands, may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
Commissioner Romulus,
Aye.
Mayor Grant,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Conserga,
Yes.
Commissioner Katz,
Yes.
vote is 5-0.
Ordinance 20-025, an ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, approving the abandonment of easements associated with the Riverwalk Plaza redevelopment project located at 1532 South Federal Highway, authorizing the city manager to execute a disclaimer which shall be recorded with this ordinance in the public records of Palm Beach County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Colin, I asked for a map. Did anyone know, was that someone able to do that where the easements are?
Yes, Colin Groff, Assistant City Manager. We tried to produce a map. We did not get it finished in time. It was quite a bit of work. These are all, just as an explanation, all of these are old easements. They are dedicating new easements for utilities on the site, and these are the easements that are no longer needed on the site, that are basically things under new buildings. And that this doesn't have anything to do with any easements on any adjacent property that they own. This is just strictly for the development. And yes, we attempted to create a map. We just did not get it finished in time for tonight.
No worries. Any further questions or comments from the board or commission? Seeing none, may I have a roll call, please? Oh, so I'm sorry. No, excuse me. I have a raised hand from Susan Oyer. Oh, she go away? All right, never mind. Yes, Crystal, would you please proceed?
Commissioner Romulus,
Aye.
Mayor Grant,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Penserga,
Yes.
Commissioner Cat,
Yes.
Commissioner Hay.
Aye.
Vote is 5-0.
And I do apologize. Ms. Oyer did want to speak, so I'm going to give her an opportunity to speak. Susan, I apologize.
No worries. Susan Oyer, 140 Southeast 27th Way. I understand these are old easements, and I guess that's fine. My bigger question is we were promised these mangrove parks from this developer to be allowed to do all of this, and to the best of my knowledge, we still are not, as a city, in possession of these mangroves. When are we going to get them? And why do you keep giving this man what he wants without getting what he promised us?
The promise wasn't in writing, so that's my comments regarding that.
Yes, but people actually voted based on those verbal promises. And why do we continue to give this man what he wants when he's not following through on his end of the deal?
Mayor.
These
Yes.
easements.
It's in the works, Mayor.
So
He's going through permitting. Go ahead, Commissioner Cash.
just one, so, and this was brought up last week on first reading, and staff said that the process is moving forward and there's still all intents and purposes to give the portion of land that was promised. And just also to clarify, I don't think anybody voted on this project relative to the mangrove contribution. That was just something that was a gift to the city. So I just want to clarify that I can only speak for myself, but my vote is what it was based on the merits of the project, not a parcel of land being contributed to the city.
Correct. The project was approved before any sort of promise of the mangrove.
Well, that was a complaint for another day by 100 people. So what are we looking at time-wise on getting this mangrove park and protecting it? Because Lori just said it was in the works.
I think they've been dealing with permitting for probably a year and a half now. I don't know if Colin is still on, because I know they reached out to Baruch. I don't have an exact answer on that yet, Susan, but I know they are in with the Army Corps, if I'm not mistaken. It is. It just takes quite some time, but they're in the permitting process.
Colin Groff, Assistant City Manager.
Okay.
Yes, the timeline, we have reached out to the developer. He is in the process. Where it is right now is he has a core permit in. He cannot separate the mangroves from the other developable property he's trying to develop until the core permit is finished. So it's with the federal government right now, waiting for that permit to be issued. Once that permit is issued, then he will dedicate the mangroves back to the city. He has every intent to do it, just cannot do it until the Corps of Engineers action occurs. So I believe that it's in the federal government's hand, and he doesn't, and none of us have any control over that time frame.
And do you have it in some kind of writing that he's going to do this? Because I've seen his plans showing building on top of these mangroves. So I don't believe a thing that man tells you.
So just another point of clarification, the mangroves that we're referring to are the approximate 4 to 5 acres on the intercoastal itself. The upland mangrove portion behind McDonald's and all that, which is dry mangroves, that was never intended to be given to the city. So what they do with that, subject to their legal authority and what's permissible, that's their business. But the portion that was acquired to be given to the city were specific plots adjacent to the intercoastal, not existing land that he owned towards the west and almost adjacent to McDonald's and Federal. So just again to clarify, the promise was to give the 4 to 5 acres that abut the intercoastal, not to give every inch of mangrove, which he already owned some of prior to acquiring the parcels that we're referring to.
Right, except they're all three types of mangroves are needed to maintain the ecosystem. So thank you very much.
All right. All right, John, we'll close public comment now and move on to the city manager's report for the financial impact March through June from the COVID-19 pandemic emergency.
Mayor, we have one more ordinance, I believe.
Oh, I thought we did Harvey Oyer.
We did, 027.
Oh yeah, that's at legal at 12B. Do you want to skip it? Does the commission want to skip ahead and do that one now? I'm not hearing it, Jim. I guess we're going to go to item 9A.
So at our last commission meeting, I think Commissioner Romulus had asked for an update, and I asked Mara, and she's prepared to just talk to you a little bit about looking at our financials and what impact we know of to date and what we are trying to speculate what it's going to do to us in the next couple years actually. But Mara, if you can go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Mara Frederickson, Director of Financial Services.
Good evening.
Good evening.
John, next slide, please. So just a brief overview of our March through June revenues and looking at them over some of the major things that we can attribute to COVID related revenue losses. We're seeing about $1,218,316.80. Broken down by fund, general fund is $738,000 of that. Traffic safety is $12,000. Your capital surplus fund, $152,000. Recreation is $216,000. The golf course is $99,000. And broken by department, general government, $44,000. Franchise fees are $73,000. Again, the golf course is $99,000. Police is $12,351. Recreation $316,000, and the state revenue sharing is $672,000. And one thing I do want to preface the next few slides, this is really just a snapshot of your March through June losses. As we get to some of the other slides, I will go into detail as to how we expect the outcome of the rest of the fiscal year based on what these losses and what we can kind of attribute to those losses. So the next few slides are similar information, kind of just broken down into some visual aids and things like that. So John, next slide, please. These are your losses by fund with each of the different types of revenues that come into those funds that we're contributing to COVID. General fund, we're seeing your tax searches, your Florida Power and Light franchise fees, the tennis center, pool daily fees, Beach parking fees, the rental of the city facilities, revenue sharing and sales tax, traffic safeties, the red light parking, your surtax is the discretionary sales tax, recreation is program activity and non-resident registrations, and then the golf course fund is your green fees, your range, merchandise, and things like that. Next slide, please. This is a visual aid of what we anticipated in March through June of the revenues coming in by fund and what we actually received. As you'll notice, you know, the bars on the right are a little bit lower overall. Next slide, please. So broken by department, your tax searches, which are your general government, we saw a loss of $44,554. We're attributing to that to some of the real estate market, you know, not being open and things like that as well. Golf course, obviously being closed for a few months, we saw significant losses in March and April, but actually they exceeded their expected revenues in May and June. So we hope to see that come out a little bit of where we're seeing that $99,000 loss through the end of the year. The red light parking fines, just because they're behind a few months in the way they're reported and things like that, May and June were hit hard. We do expect that as the courts reopen and we start filing some of those, you know, obviously we had less traffic on the road, so some of that will be a loss, but, you know, $12,000, we'll probably see that made up by the end of the year. Recreation saw $316,000 loss. That's really just a closure of the tennis centers, the beach parking and the beach closing and things like that. The state revenue sharing, $672,000 loss. So for May and June, the state cut our state shared revenues by 50% as a preliminary measure, just to kind of see where everything fell out. So we are anticipating a true up by the end of the fiscal year that we may actually realize those revenues. I think it was just more precautionary in the beginning just to see where everything hit. So we're hoping that some of that $672,000 is made up as well. Next slide, please. John. All right, again, visual, no, back one. This is a visual of your March through June anticipated, broken out by department versus what we actually received March through June. As you'll note, a little bit of a decrease on the right there. As a total, the 1.2 million, if you're looking at our overall budget of 256 million, it's about 0.46% of your overall budget. So while the 1.2 million looks like a lot, as a percentage of your overall budget, you know, and as we hope to recoup and mitigate some of those costs by the end of the year, overall, actually, you know, better than I would have looked at it. So next slide, please. And these are actual expenses, what we've spent on just PPE and supplies, about 214,000, and then payroll expenses that are above and beyond, having to run an extra task force for fire, having extra calls that are PD related, having some overtime for different things or whatnot. So those are those payroll expenses of 215,000. Our total expenses right now are 429,000. All of these, we do expect that we will be able to request reimbursement from FEMA for. They all are relatable expenses to COVID directly. So while we may not see the reimbursement this year, we hope, you know, next year we'll see the reimbursement for those. Next slide, please. And with that, any questions?
Thank you. Vice Mayor, I saw your hand raised.
Right. Mara, thank you for that presentation. So the 1.2 really isn't 1.2 since this is just a snapshot in time. And as you mentioned, we might be recouping more money. The 400,000 or so for the COVID related supplies, was that part of the 1.2 or is that separate?
Nope. So the 1.2 is direct revenue. The 400,000 were direct expenses.
I see. Okay. And you said most of that will be covered by FEMA. Why not all?
I say most as a precautionary, you know, for whatever reason they may come back and say, you know, this isn't documented properly. Most likely all of it will be. It's just, you know, more on the conservative side of most, I should say.
I was just curious if we were doing non-refundable items. So,
no.
Okay, all right, great. You answered that. Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Not hearing any. Thank you so much, Mara.
Thank you.
Commissioner Romulus.
Yes, so I just want to thank you for the presentation, Mara and staff. For me, I think what I want to kind of focus on now is that we're seeing the uptick of the numbers, and we're seeing that 33435 continues to be in the higher end of those COVID cases. So if we need to allocate more funding, if we need to find a way to open up a testing center in the 33435 area, whether it's using the senior center or the Hester Center, like what can we do to help mitigate some of these case numbers and things that we're seeing here in Boynton?
We are working closely with the county. As you know, most of the CARES Act money, it all went through the county. So the county's been good working with us in terms of, we've received numerous shipments of masks that we can provide to the community. We have them stocked at City Hall and different facilities. So if people come in with the mandatory mask they have to wear, we can hand them one if they don't need an accommodation. You know, the testing, that's where I'm going to try to use their resources if we can, and get the mobile unit here as often, you know, more often hopefully than after this first time it's coming on the 15th, and continue to educate. That's about all we really can do at this point, I think. Oh, and you know what? I don't know if we had the opportunity at a commission meeting yet, because I think it happened in between our last meeting. But you know, with the Mayor Kerner's task force, the education compliance task force, there's a longer name to it. We do have one of our police officers that is dedicated to that task force about 3 days a week. And I think we will get some reimbursement from the county for some of the overtime it may end up costing us. But I believe it's Henry Deal, who the chief told me that will be one of the 4 or 5 municipalities that have officers, along with the county staff and the sheriff's office, to go out and do the compliance checks. So we're helping out there, and they're coming into Boynton. So we'll make sure we'll work on the compliance end as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mara. And we'll be moving on to item 11A, new business. Approve reduction of performance bond by the amount of $284,348 for the completion of the earthwork and the paving, grading, and drainage improvements in association with the Casa del Mar project. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. I got a motion by Vice Mayor and a second by Hay. Do we have any discussion from the commission? Hearing none. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes unanimously. New business, proposed resolution number 20-065. Authorize the city manager to procure from Motorola Solutions Company their p.m.on cloud-hosted computer-aided dispatch CAD records management system and mobile reporting solutions, as well as ancillary products and services as described in their proposal for a cost of $2,094,366. I believe our chief has a presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. No, I don't have a full presentation, but I do have a short review of where we are, or where we've been, and how we got to where we are now. And now we'd be certainly happy to entertain any questions you may have. This is the CAD and RMS mobile software solution that we've been talking about for the last year and a half or so. We initially did an RFP, procured a Spillman computer dispatch system. Our team worked diligently with Spillman through that implementation process up through training, at which point it was determined that there were serious challenges that weren't going to be able to be overcome. Those fell into a couple of categories, particularly challenges in the area of security with the system and our ability to be able to segregate information that we wanted to access. We didn't want access from certain people, but accessible by other people. The system wasn't really able to accomplish that for us completely. The number of workflows that were mandated by the system that we couldn't control, added steps for the officers would have to complete a police report, as well as for the detectives to access information in the system. There were also challenges in creating process workflows that we needed our staff to follow. The system wouldn't allow us to do that. And there was a big challenge with auditing capabilities, where we needed to go back in to see what had been changed and when things had been changed in the system. That's of particular importance to us when we're trying to make sure the integrity of our reports. And we had some large hurdles to try to accomplish, large hurdles to get across to try to be able to get to these auditing capabilities. We've discussed this for a period of time with Motorola, who is the owner of this product, and they stepped up to the plate and ensured that they would be able to accomplish all the deficiencies and make sure that all of our needs per the RFP were accomplished. As we continue to work with them to get these things addressed over the past year, the decision was made that the best way to accomplish that would be by upgrading the product. So tonight before you in this agenda item is the upgrade from the Spillman product to the p.m.on Motorola CAD RMS mobile product. We have received credits for the investment we've made on the Spillman purchase, and we've also received credits towards the funds that have been submitted to Motorola thus far into the project. So all those credits have been received, and what you have before you is the remaining balance projected over a 5-year period. Our annual cost for the subscription service is approximately $370,000 per year, but extrapolated over the 5-year period of the subscription, it rolls up into a $2 million value. So at a high level, those are the issues we faced, and tonight we have the solution before us, and I'm open to entertain any questions you may have.
All right. Does the commission have any questions regarding this? I just have a comment. I remember so many years ago that we put this in the budget, and I'm glad to see that it's coming to fruition. I'm sure Chief Gregory, this was not an easy task to update all the police records. Do you mind if I ask how far back did the police records go?
Oh, they go back further than I can certainly recall. We actually have the current system that's in use now, I believe, is approximately 10 years old. And then we have another system which has even older records than that in an online format. And then I believe there may be actual paper and or other types of archived records before that. So we, depending on the type of report it is, we have to keep it for large and very long periods of time. But fortunately, we are in a good position that we've got 2 computer systems of data that are out there to make the information a little bit more accessible. But that will be our next challenge, is to, once we get onto the new system, is how do we decommission those older systems and where we'll end up putting those records.
Thank you. I know, you know, we still have cold cases here in Boynton Beach, if I'm not mistaken.
That's true. Yes, we do.
And so hopefully,
anything that's unsolved, we can't purge anything that's unsolved. So all those records we will maintain until they are solved.
Okay, and so that's why my hope is that when we have to transfer this, we can look at some of these old cold cases and hopefully get into some answers to, for the victims.
Thank you.
But that's a hope. So just put it another task on there. I believe we have do we have the motion in the second?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion from the commission? Hearing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very
Moving
much.
on to legal. Thank you. We have the Quantum Park Overlay Dependent District Audit Report. Jim?
Here, am I unmuted?
I can hear you.
You can, okay. So in late 2017, when the city was involved in litigation with the warring parties in Quantum Park regarding control of the Property Owners Association and the QPOD, the Quantum Park Overlay Dependent District, which at that time was under control of successor developer appointees. Mr. McDonald was the successor developer, and people associated with his development company. The city commission had authorized the mayor to write to the auditor general to request an audit of the QPOD to evaluate whether or not there was waste or mismanagement of funds related to contracts, the use of space, and other professional expenses, including attorney fees. The board had its own attorneys at that time, still does, different attorneys. That audit was kicked back with direction to send it to the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee, who works as the gatekeeper for Auditor General requests and audits. You have to get over that hurdle first. Sometime in 2019, the litigation with the Quantum Park warring parties came to an end. This particular audit issue was not abandoned, but was, I think, ignored, would be the best way to put it. And as it turns out, has not been pursued by the legislative committee. They've never considered it. I spoke 2 weeks ago with Kathy DeBose and Deborah White, who work with the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee to work through the process of unfreezing that particular audit. The process itself has changed. Back in 2017, when we initiated it, it was the city commission who had authority to request the audit. Oddly enough, that process is now different, and it is the board itself, the QPOD itself, that would have to request an audit. Since the city commission and the QPOD board are one and the same, that's not really a big issue. But the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee does not meet again to consider anything until January of 2021. If they were to green light this audit and send it on to the Auditor General after a public hearing, the Auditor General would probably not conclude the audit being requested until the third or fourth quarter of 2022. And the cost would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $80,000 or $90,000, which the city would be responsible for. So the option that I discussed with the representatives of the Legislative Auditing Committee, working through different provisions of the statute, would be is that either the QPOD itself or the city commission could authorize an audit. Of course, authorizing it means going out for a request for qualifications, signing a contract, and then having that audit defined and paid for by the city or the QPOD. I doubt that it would cost in the neighborhood of what the Auditor General would charge, but we wouldn't know that until we put it out for requests for qualifications or requests for bids. As I noted, the litigation is long over. The wrongdoing that was being explored in that litigation has been put aside by virtue of settlement with all the interested parties that own property within the Quantum Park area. So if we're still interested in finding out to what degree there was waste, the misspending of public money, and I guess the outcome of that would be to evaluate rules and regulations so that would never happen again with respect to a special district created by the city. Your next agenda at the QPOD meeting should include an agenda item to discuss that and to authorize an audit.
Thank you. Any other questions from the city commission?
Just to, I guess, the city attorney, you said that the cost of obtaining an audit directly would be less than the quote from the state. What's a ballpark estimate? How much less?
Maybe I could defer to either Lori or to Mara with respect to that. My own guess would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $25,000.
And
That's an estimate, yeah, that's exactly what I would say.
And if it were determined, that there was wrongdoing, is what would be any recourse that the city or the QPOD could take?
Well, not the city in all likelihood, probably the QPOD. It would be to seek recovery through demand and possible legal action against anybody that was involved in the waste or who was overpaid in that process. It's been a long period of time, so some limitation of actions issues will come into play. I think of that as a statute of limitations on certain kinds of claims. So the time period that we would be looking at certainly would be, probably a 4 or 5 year period from the time going back from when the city commission took over the QPOD, because that's the period of time where there were concerns regarding operations, waste, and mismanagement.
Thank you. So I guess I'll weigh in because I've kind of been championing this cause since it came to my attention, I guess now over almost 4 years ago. Given the fact that any sort of recourse on behalf of the taxpayers and the QPOD, would require years of litigation and who knows what costs. I'm, as much as I want to determine what went wrong and who's responsible and hold them accountable, I don't know if I can even support going further down this rabbit hole. But as just a final comment, my position in being turned on to this topic over the past 4 years and knowing everything that transpired to the best of my knowledge from everything I've witnessed and read and heard in discussions from members who ran the QPOD and people who opposed them, and the efforts we made to take over that district and fix all of the the negative activity. It's clear to me that a handful of individuals absolutely violated their charge in the public trust and misappropriated or misspent hundreds of thousands of dollars, potentially $1 million or $2 million over time. And it's it's just disgusting to think that when we took it over and when our staff took it over, that we fixed everything in the blink of an eye, which only to me proves how just nefarious the activities were and how disgusting it is that people have been paying taxes that should have been dissolved years ago, and it never would have ended if not for the action of this commission and the work of staff. So I commend everybody on that. It's just, you know, a bunch of people, in my opinion, stole money from the taxpayers, and they're going to get away with it because it's been enough time, and the cost to try to chase them down, you know, might not be justifiable. It's, you know, it's a shame. That's my final statement.
Yeah, and I think the question is the QPOD should have that discussion at their meeting. So
I agree.
And anything else from this item 12A? Seeing none, move on to proposed ordinance number 20-027.
An ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending the Land Development Regulations, Chapter 3 Zoning, Article 4 Use Regulation, Section 3D, Use Matrix, Note 34, updating the home occupational provisions in part to allow one resident to assist with operating the one non-resident to assist in operating the home-based business, providing for conflict severability, codification, and an effective date.
May I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion from the commission? Seeing none. If anyone would like to speak on this item? I don't think so. That was from before. All right.
Mayor Grant,
Susan, Susan, you're unmuted.
Thank you. Susan Oyer, 140 Southeast 27th Way. I don't recall having seen this before, so I'm curious what this is actually about.
This is the second reading. Basically, been discussed at one time. Spoke with Paul Schofield, the village manager over at Wellington, about their home-based business ordinance, and we had a comparison led by our building director Michael Rumpf, and we are very competitive with home-based business, except for the fact that we do not allow a no one else to help that home-based business. So, for example, if you're trying to start a business and you actually are getting to a point where you can, ask for additional help, but not necessarily want to move into a commercial location, have additional rent, this will help that person grow their business to a point where they will need a commercial location.
Okay, thank you. And it says first reading.
Or it is first reading? Thank you.
Yeah, that's why I questioned it. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, yeah, we spoke about it before. All right. Seeing no more comments, may I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Grant,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ponserga,
Yes.
Commissioner Katz,
Yes.
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
Commissioner Romulus,
Aye.
vote is 5-0.
All right. And then the last is anything for future agenda, or anything regarding our budget hearing, which will start on July 13th, 5 o'clock.
Here, just a
Seeing none?
reminder, our July 21 meeting will be GoToWebinar, and then we'll work in August to do something in person, possibly.
All right. May I have that motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
Thank you. Justin or Christina?
Second.
Okay.
Anybody home?
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Meeting is adjourned.
Good night, everybody.
John?
Good, everybody.
And just as a reminder, a recorded version of this session will be posted to the City of Boynton Beach's YouTube channel. Links to that channel are available on the City of Boynton Beach's website at www.boynton-beach.org. This concludes tonight's meeting. On behalf of Mayor Grant and all of our elected officials, city manager, and city staff, thank you for attending today's City of Boynton Beach Commission meeting. Be safe and have a great evening.